we got a great night planned, and the food was awesome. Real thing posted up with some championship barbecue again. Great to have that. And some meatballs. Those were awesome. Hey, we're gonna get started here. I'm gonna bring up Kate Boss in a second, who leads our third F. But just a couple people I want to recognize before we get into the program tonight. Sway Flimbo is our South Carolina Nantan. So I think you may not know that we formed kind of a mega region, or I can't get all these titles right, but basically that's the guy that I'm working with and our region leadership are working with to coordinate across South Carolina. So Flynn came up all the way from Columbia and stayed in the land of cheap gas tonight to join us. So tonight is an Invergence. We didn't have a name for this last year when we started it. We just thought it'd be really cool to celebrate last year, our 1-year anniversary, and to have a night where we inverted the model, where we started off with a faith-focused conversation, or maybe a focus around personal leadership, development of you as a person, as a man, in the faith component of this. Mixed it with some fellowship, and what keeps us honest tonight is the fact that we have a workout to post at tomorrow in multiple locations. In fact, it was actually challenging to think of doing a convergence in our region tomorrow just because of the momentum we've got across multiple sites. So we're going to celebrate our 2-year tomorrow with workouts in all of the locations in Rock Hill and Indian Land and TVK and in Fort Mill. So we've come a long way since last year. We're going to talk more about that tonight. And your role personally, that you've played in that, and the role that you will play in that this next year and in years to come. So you took time out of a Friday night, 2 home games, I think NAFO and Fort Mill. South Carolina's at home tomorrow. We had great excuses to keep people away, but I think everybody's here that's intended to be here tonight, and I think that's going to be awesome. So we're going to start off with Cake Boss, who is our third F, our faith-based leader for this region. You'll meet Agony later tonight, who's our national F3, our third F leader. But Cake Boss is going to start off and bring up your invocation and some scripture.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Hey guys, how you doing? Good. I know there's some new faces here. So I'm Brian Mullen, aka Cake Boss. And as Scott said, I head up third F here in the fort, and outside of faith, the fort, or third F also takes into consideration outreach and serving and giving back to our community in all those different fashions. And I have to say a couple things before I get into scripture and prayer, but this past year, Senator asked, what does F3 mean to you? What has it meant to you this past year? And I came up with 4 different things, but while going through that, I realized how much this collective body has given back to Fort Mill and to the community. So one of the things that F3 has done for me is relationships. So all the different guys here, the relationships that we each have with each other, but also international and Charlotte. Some of you know who I bring out on Saturdays, Iron Horse. Iron Horse took a request of mine for a trailer hitch cover that has gone viral. Those things are showing up all over Charlotte. And he's made relationships with Malkovich, and it's just a fun thing to see. And then he's also made the trophy for the F3 golf tournament, which made its way back to the fort. So can we get a round of applause for that? The other thing, I just told Dred about relationships. I went out to San Antonio for a ceremony for my brother, and there's a guy there, Madonna. He's trying to start up F3. I went and posted. I'm up on the Blue Ridge a couple weeks ago, pulling in the parking lot at 3 in the morning. Cake Boss! Where are you, Cake Boss? And here comes Madonna. And it's all about the relationships. So F3 has done, miracles in relationships. But serving without knowing. So this is where the fort comes in. Serving without knowing it's not work, right? It's just natural. And some of the things that this group has done food drives, 5Ks, children's detention home, all the text calls, coffees, and meetings that you guys have with each other in support and encouragement. Back in January, we did 250 pounds of food for Fort Mill Care Center. We assisted Area 51 with the Joe Davis Run. We did 374 boxes of cereal for the children's detention home. We did a field day for the children's detention home with the support of F3 Foundation. F3 Foundation got involved in that, and all the guys that came out there and supported that, all the M's and the 2.0s as well. We turned around and then did another 750 pounds of food for the Fort Mill Care Center, and I want to point out Pebbles took a wagon apparently and went door to door. He was, Aye.
He just left.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Pebble took a wagon around his neighborhood, went door to door, so we're collecting food. The man, I think, came up with about 500 pounds of that 750. So, yeah. And then, lastly, this Lowe's grant that we're doing down at the Children's Detention Home. McGruff is doing a great job leading that up. It's a week's worth of coordination and whatnot. So, I to him. Leading in ways never imagined. Workouts, Bible studies, Chicken and Wisdom. Everybody been to Chicken and Wisdom? Raise your hand. It's originally called Game Plan. That's our Friday Bible study at Chick-fil-A. But I would have never imagined 2 years ago me leading a Bible study in Chick-fil-A every Friday, and then sharing it with all the Qs that have stepped up and led that. We've been through Proverbs, James, and Daniel, and it's been a magnificent thing to see guys that have never opened the Bible before get into the Word and be challenged each week. Assassin and Pusher, they headed up the Bible Challenge this year. I don't want that to be forgotten. You guys might be behind in your Bible Challenge. It's time to catch up. 2 weeks, we're going to have a meeting about that. I wanted to get them a heads up. So, and then lastly, what F3 has done for me is witnessing to all my brothers, my family, but most importantly to my son. He sees all the things I just mentioned, and all your 2.0s see it as well. And F3 allows us to not only teach them, how to live our lives, but how to be men. Aye? Aye. All right. So, Chicken and Wisdom on Fridays can't be Chicken and Wisdom without my good friend Anchorman. Yeah. And I'd like to call him up to help me get through a couple.
The reader has to read.
Yeah, the reader has to read. So I appreciate Anchorman on Fridays, but I appreciate you helping me out tonight to get through some of these verses. So we're going to read a couple verses. We'll say a prayer and get this moving along.
I'm going to keep it sexy. That's the I got to read Proverbs now after that.
Bummed out.
All right, we go.
Everyone up.
Proverbs, this is from Proverbs 27. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, profuse are the kisses of an enemy.
We need each other to be honest and accountable. That's what F3 is doing for each of us.
Like a bird that strays from its nest is a man who strays from his home.
There's uncertainty in the world, and there's stability at home. As men, we like to stray from home once in a while. And the story of the prodigal son comes to mind there.
Do not forsake your friend and your father's friend, and do not go to your brother's house in the day of your calamity. Better is a neighbor who is near than a brother who is far away.
Friendships built on mutual interest and belief are stronger than other relationships. If anybody has read that board tonight, a good half of those things of what F3 has done for me talk about guys being around guys with common interests, and that's what makes us stronger.
Be wise, my son, and make my heart glad, that I may answer him who reproaches me.
We as parents are given credit or blame for our kids. We want them to give us credit, so let's be the good example to our 2.0s.
This is the one. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another.
We chose to come to F3. We choose friends that are strong or stronger than us, not only physically, but in moral character.
As in water, face reflects face, so the heart of a man reflects the man.
What is your heart reflecting? Meditate on that.
Hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied.
So the evil one never tries to get us to slip up and sin. And that's why our brothers are there to hold us up when we do slip and fall.
This is 1 Peter 5, 8 through 10. Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in your faith, knowing that the same kinds of suffering are being experienced by your brotherhood throughout the world. And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you.
We have an enemy. We tend to drop our guard. We like to be self-reliant. Standing together, locking shields with the brotherhood is how you defend against it. Rely on the Sky Q as a resource in all we do. I'm going to ask you to stand for this prayer. Bow your heads, drop your hats. Heavenly Father, you are holy indeed and powerful. We are grateful for this group we call F3, the men that we see in the early morning, the men we lock shields with, the men we serve with, the men that are blessed, that have blessed us. Stronger physically, Father, but stronger in character and in spirit, most importantly. It is character, Father, that you want us all to have, to pick up our brother when he is down and out, to give words of encouragement, to hold each other accountable, and know when the lion is about to devour us, my brother is there to help me. As this night progresses, we ask, Father, that you keep us safe, bless these conversations, open our hearts and minds for you, what you want us to hear and gain. And when the night is over, Father, we ask that we don't ask how we did or how the program was successful, but we ask, how did I honor my Creator? How did I bring him glory? And how did I sharpen my brother as he has sharpened me? We lift this up to you in your Holy Son's name. Amen. Amen. All right. I'm going to bring up Senator Tressel, Double D, and Trucker for the rest of this program. Good luck.
It's really great to be out here tonight, and it's been 2 years for me, and I know a lot of the history of the fort. And so for our second year anniversary, we thought we'd kind of look back and kind of see where we were a year ago today at this time and how much we've grown. And for me, I'm really just totally blown away as to what we're doing now after just 2 years. And so we're going to talk about some of that. Before we get into that, I just want to recognize a couple people, a couple friends of mine who have been out for quite a while, and I see them tonight for the first time. So one is Woody Exton. Woody, can you stand up? Woody's had knee surgery. He's been out. How long have you been out? It's been
about 8 weeks.
Yeah, he was supposed to do BRR. He had bad knee, couldn't do it. So really good to see you, Woody, tonight. And we're going to post it out to Alcatraz tomorrow. He told me, so we'll be looking for you tomorrow.
We won't run.
Yeah, don't worry, we won't run, just a little bit. The next person is Adam Champion, also known as Sparkplug. Is he still here? Here you come on, stand up. Adam's had an illness, and it looks like it's going to get better, but he's a regular at Alcatraz. We haven't seen him in a long time, and really good to see you tonight, brother. Thanks for coming out. I'm mostly familiar with the TDK guys. Is there anybody from the fort? I won't see them all. Maybe the Hasselhoff, yeah, I'll talk to you tonight.
Back surgery.
Come on, back surgery. You can get up, right? You can stand up. So back a year ago, this time last year, we had 7 workouts, kind of the Bible study. And those workouts were the fort, Alcatraz, Laces In, Laces Out, which is our Thursday, block party, which is Tuesday, the Armory on Monday, game plan Bible study, and the Coop on Wednesdays. Today we have all those workouts plus the Patriot down in Rock Hill, Golden Corral at TBK, the Ranch out at Springfield Elementary, Slow Burn Friday mornings, Flight Plan Monday mornings, and the incredible guys from Indian Land with 3 workouts in the past 3 weeks. I'm going to talk a little bit about those guys in a second, but wow, yeah. So it's really been just tremendous growth, and really just amazed when you think about some of the early guys, Double D, Santini, where it was just maybe 3 or 4 of us on Saturdays, and I can remember classic Red Banjo. We're out there working out. He says, "We got to get some more guys out here," because it was just a few of us. We come out. We hope it grows, and it did. It's just amazing to see. So for me, it's just awesome. I did want to recognize just a few people this year. I want to talk about them because to me, just kind of epitomize what F3, some of the principles of F3. And the first person is Cake Boss. And one of the things that I just love about him is just he's just all over the place. And if you don't see him on Twitter, he goes to a lot of workouts. And at the end of the workout, what I really love is he reminds us, honor your wife, spend time with your kids. Just a very consistent message. He puts the tweets out with his wife's desserts. My wife is great. Look what she made. It's just really good. Really, you inspire me, man. You really do. Appreciate you so much. The other thing on the cereal challenge, you kind of glossed over. Yeah, we did the cereal thing, and the short history that when we started to try to do something with the children's attention at home, Chicken Hawk and Cake Boss and I went down and met with the coordinator down there, and we started talking about things we could do. And then we finished up around dinner time, so we went down to where did we go to eat? It was some cookout. Cookout, yeah, thank you. All right, so we're having our greasy burgers, our healthy F3 food, and we said, what can we do? We started talking about, geez, the kids really like cereal. Maybe if we did like a cereal drive or something, and it was just kind of maybe a 30-second conversation. And so we said, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good, we'll talk about it. And so I had seen those guys and hadn't checked my email, but literally before I could get to my email, the cereal challenge was on, and he had a tweet out and an email about everybody bring 3 boxes of cereal to the workouts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're doing it, we're actually doing it. And the response was amazing. I mean, it was just every week, I'm hauling cereal back to my garage, and I had 30 cases, and then Cobra Kai's in here, and I didn't see him. But he put a note out to his trail running group, or trail bicycle group, and they gave us like 80 boxes. So that thing went on for 3 weeks, and we got like 400 boxes of cereal. And it was literally about how much planning? Maybe about a minute worth of planning and a couple emails and a tweet, and boom, we got 400 boxes of cereal. So just amazing the power of the number of guys we have and the type of guys we have that'll do that. The second thing I want to talk about is just the guys from Indian Land. And if you have anything to do with the Indian Land startup, just stand up. I know one Niner. The reason I want to recognize these guys is when we started planning this, anybody from Indian Land, go ahead and stand up. What I like about these, and the reason I'm talking about it is we started doing this planning, what are we going to talk about tonight, about 2 weeks ago. So they had one workout then. So between now and the time we talked about, they have like 2 or 3 more. And I just love the enthusiasm and the drive. If you look at the Twitter, they're all pumped up. They're putting the Google map. This is what we're doing. It's just they have so much energy and so much excitement around it. It's just great to see. And you guys are doing an awesome job, and I wish you tons of success. It's just really good to see. I love that enthusiasm. And lastly, he's not here tonight. This one's kind of a personal one for me, but if you guys know Red Eye, really good guy. So he was on my BRR team, and we had a great time. The guys in my band, some really good memories. I know we've talked about BRR to death, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. But Stephen Beckworth is Red Eye, and I just wanted to. One of the things that I think really epitomizes, the kind of guys that are here in F3 and the character of the guys is when we were in the van, we're driving along. He didn't pass. We're driving along, you're passing runner after runner after runner. He didn't miss one that he didn't offer a bottle of water to. Hey man, how you doing? You want a bottle of water? These are not people on our team. These were just anybody that was on the trail. offered everybody a bottle of water. If you finished your leg, he was the first one there with a bottle of water. Here, how's your run? Here's your bottle of water. And if he was running, we made sure we reciprocated. But if he couldn't do it, he made sure someone take a bottle of water for the finishing runner. I had to drive my car up. I kind of missed the group. I had a work thing, and I got up there late. I had to meet him at the exchange zone, and I really didn't know what I was going to do with my car because we were out in the middle of nowhere. And I said, oh shoot, I'm going to be following the van, for a couple of 100 miles. This is going to stink. And I didn't even ask Stephen, but he said, Frank, I already got it planned out. We're gonna take your car. We're gonna go down to. We're gonna drive. We drove an hour out of our way. We're gonna drive your car out of an hour. We're gonna park it here. It'll be off I-40, so that when we're done, you can drive back and won't have to go out in the middle of nowhere and take you 4 hours to get home. And I didn't even have to ask him to do that. He was just a really super guy. And all the guys in my band, you guys are all terrific. It was really a great experience, and I love you all. It was a ball of fun. So that's all I wanted to say tonight, and really, really pleased to be in front of you. And you guys all look great. Everybody's hair is combed. I mean, you look nice. Jekyll, I didn't recognize. I saw Jekyll this morning down at Shores Bench. And if you see Jekyll in the morning, his hair is like up like this. I didn't even recognize him. It's all combed and parted. I said, you guys look really good. So I'm going to turn it over to Trucker. Actually, Cake Boss, unbeknownst to us, covered much of what Trucker had to say. So I think we're going to repeat everything, but whatever he missed, you can go ahead and pick up. So thank you.
I mean, this is a follow with Senator Trestle. What?
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, extra stage. Anyway, as Frank was mentioning, or Senator Trestle mentioned earlier, Cake Boss, continue on what we've done over the past year since last year's Invergence. Beyond the exercise locations, the Patriot, Indian Land, we have Black Diamond now. You never know where that's going to happen, who's doing it. That's pretty awesome. I'll never do it, but it's pretty awesome. Another one, Hog and Coyote. Yeah, not me. But Worldwide and Santini kind of set that up, and we know we got another one coming up, hopefully soon. The Bible Challenge, as mentioned earlier, Assassin and Pusher. If you're behind, you got time. Children Detention Home again. Chicken Wing, Senator Trestle, and others. We're not trying to single out certain people, but everyone has to take the lead, and that's what F3 is about. Stepping out of your comfort zone, just like me right now. Stepping out of your comfort zone, taking the lead on something, and really doing something for outside yourself. I queued one day, and I talk about teamwork. It's huge. We're leading not only our families, but we're leading the community as well. So it's really awesome to see what we've done in the past year. F3 Dads, White Lightning. I mean, that was phenomenal. Again, Joe Davis Convergence with F3 Nation. The Mud Run next week. Last year was awesome. We had 16 guys, busload of fun. Who would ever thought we'd be doing the Mud Run? Who would I? We won't talk about my injury. Go Rock. It's in your trivia question too, by the way. The BRR, the Kiwi, half marathon and marathon, the golf outing, cereal challenge, food drive, second F lunches, paintball, second F events that we're doing with that Crab Cakes is in charge of, the men's shelter, the NASCAR event. Thank you to Tonka on getting the tickets for that, and the website that Hard Drive's on. It's amazing. It's amazing what we've done over the past year. And hopefully this list is twice as long next year.
All right.
For the fun part, the trivia, afterwards, if you don't get it right, you gotta do a burpee.
The trivia answers will come up after the full program. So anyway, I remember last year well, and I remember walking up and realizing how many faces I didn't know. So again, tonight, I'm Dan Janik, Double D. Good to be here, good to be with everybody, and a great recap for what's happened in the last year. I mean, I think back to the challenge that Santini laid out last year. The theme was game on, and let's take this to another level. And in terms of what is F3 mean to me? What's my reaction in the last year? I mean, it's humbling and inspiring to see what's happened. I mean, Scott and I were sitting down over the holidays saying, you know, all right, we got game on, let's take it to another level now. How the hell are we going to do that? And we didn't have to do it. Scott didn't do it, and Dan didn't do it, and Worldwide and Banjo didn't do it. The guys who were here from the very beginning, Senator Tressel, you know, you guys did it, and are still doing it, and that's really what matters. That's really what it's about. So, so as I was thinking about this, Scott and I were driving back from a training run in the mountains a few weeks ago. We were talking about the event. You know, what should the theme be? And so shifting from, you know, game on to now long, slow distance, LSD. So the runners in the crowd here know that term, right? So long, slow distance, you got to plot out, right, Jay? I mean, you got to plot out those crappy miles, those 14, 16, 20-mile runs to prep for a marathon. And they're not fun. And to me, they connect to, you know, a principle of F3 that we might hear about tonight. We heard about a year ago, which is the third 500. But those long, slow distances are about getting you through the crappy middle part of a marathon. Because the beginning's great, in the end, even if you're beat up, you know, you're going to finish. But it's the middle that's tough. And so I was thinking about that tonight, and that sort of theme for tonight. And you know, what can we do to talk about what's happened here in the last year? So you know, to me, I learned a couple things from my wife, which she would be woefully disappointed in me saying a couple of things, because she probably thinks there's probably about 200 things I should have learned. And if I was honest with her, I'd say, you know, I really haven't learned these two, but I have to learn them over and over again. But two things are, one is that, you know, life is in the details. Life is in the little things. You know, graduations, championship games, piano recitals, job promotions, you know, the holiday celebrations, those are all great. They really mark important parts, but life is in what happens every day, and what happens in the very boring elements, mundane, routine elements of life. And she lives her life that way, and I struggle mightily to recognize that and do it myself. But to me, that's kind of part of long, slow distance, LSD. It's just, you know, it's life just feels like plodding at times. And what are you going to do about that? What can you do with that? The other thing is charity begins at home, as her other sort of one sort of mantra. And you know, all the things we just talked about, cereal boxes and children's attention home and homeless shelters and, you know, church, and that's all charity. And then, you know, I know for me personally, you know, I can think, man, I got it going on. I'm just hitting the ball in the sweet spot at work, and I got my fitness going, and you know, doing volunteer and doing this and that. But you know, charity starts at home. You know, am I paying attention to my kids, like Kate Moss says? Am I giving them the time? Am I supporting and encouraging my wife when she's having a tough day and a tough week, when I've been traveling and maybe volunteering somewhere else, or maybe working out and doing the Blue Ridge Relay? And so my thought, to recap or sort of get a visibility on last year, was to reach out to some of the wives. And so the last few days, I shot out a note to about 24 of the wives here. That's all I had cell numbers. My little black book is only about that big. So, in any event, I did.
You had my wife's number. That's a separate issue.
In any event, I got some responses, and you know, in the interest of time, I'll probably share them. I'll have Justin send them out by email, the ones that I've got. But so I'll take some editorial license here to cut a few of these down, and then read one full one. So bear with me for a moment. But so sorry, guys.
Your day's coming.
Amen. Okay. On this exact date, 1 year ago, I had radical hysterectomy due to failed cancer treatments. Beast had just started to work out with F3, maybe a month or so, but that did not stop a ton of people from helping us out. Before I even had surgery, there was a list of people that had set up food delivery times, and they brought us meals. The love and support was amazing and much needed. We appreciated it so much. You guys rock, and I love that my husband hangs out with a bunch of Jesus-loving men. I appreciate many things about F3. Early alarms, stinky shoes, grass and mud-filled car, new vocab words like fart sacking and fartlick, stinky shirts, dinner conversations discussing cue ideas that typically end in our kids having plank contests. Plank contests between me and Funhouse. Crazy names. I could go on and on. F3 encourages strong marriages, godly parenting, and purposeful friendships. F3 provides a place for men to unload their burdens and pray for one another. The first thoughts that come to mind are the clothes all over my dining room table set out the night before, the annoying alarm at 4:30, and the fulfilling opportunity of doing more smelly laundry. But as the sun comes up each morning and my husband comes running through the door with nothing but positive energy to carry the family for the day, then my thoughts bring me to something much more worthy. It is a daily inspiration to see how you can bend a knee in prayer for each other and trust in the Lord that He will deliver to these beautiful families and friends. You remind me each day to be prayerful about everything and thankful for all things. So those were snippets from those ones. I got one more here, and there's some others that unfortunately we just don't have time for, but I'm going to read all of this one, so bear with me for a moment. The journey for my husband towards F3 really began with me, although I certainly take zero credit for the impact it has had on his life. I began working out with the Fort Mill FIA group in 2013 after several friends from church encouraged me to join in on the fun. It was through my time with FIA that I learned about F3 and then passed on the good news to my guy. My husband has always been an athlete and someone who craves the physicality that F3 brings. I knew from the workout side of things that it would be the perfect fit for him. A challenge met with personal reward, he never turns that stuff down. What I didn't expect was the amazing ways that God would use F3 to strengthen and shape him from the inside out. It wasn't until I came to an F3 meeting myself, wanting to scope out the differences between FIA and F3, that I really saw the unique attributes that sets it apart and makes F3 a life-changing experience. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 27:17 that as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. F3 is built upon that promise and is designed with the male heart in mind. The bond over physical activity, the accomplishment of a task completed as a whole, the sweat, the tears, the reward of seeing your band of brothers complete at times what can feel like an impossible task. The unity of coming together and turning a workout into a worship experience. I can remember at that first meeting I attended just standing in the background as I watched 30 men, all sweaty, exhausted from their workout, with their hands on each other's shoulders, go to their knees as a whole before God. I remember my eyes filling up with tears as I saw these men of great strength bow down before Him. It still is one of the coolest things I've come to witness, and a moment that completely changed the way I would feel about F3 forever. It was so much more than a challenging workout. It was a community of incredible men, free to be open with one another, free to be vulnerable, free to be honest, free to laugh, cry, scream, whatever, because they were united. They were brothers. They were free to enter the circle of trust in whatever shape they were in, and they leave the circle of trust better because of the men to their right and left. My husband has always had great friends, but it wasn't until he began F3 that he developed the band of brotherhood he never had. Men who are molded similar to him, men who do not quit when things get hard, men who stand when no one else does, men who fight for what is right, men who love their wives and want to be the leaders God has called them to be, men who treasure their kids and want to be the model that they need, men who love Jesus and are unabashedly free to proclaim that boldly. To surround yourself with 20 to 30 men multiple times a week who are all striving for that goal will bring change to your life. Their iron will sharpen your iron. God will use an hour workout to bring good to your life and glory to His kingdom. My husband has changed a lot in the year and a half he has been part of the F3 Brotherhood. Not only is he in the best physical shape of his life, but more importantly, his heart is in the best shape of his life. Our marriage is the strongest it has been. Our parenting is the most united it has been. Our friendships are the most meaningful they have been. And my gentle giant leader of a husband has the backing and support of an F3 nation to be all that God designed him to be. What could be better than that? So that's what you guys have created. It's something special, and that speaks to long, slow distance. That speaks to what's happening when no one else in this community or in this group is watching, and that's powerful stuff. So, Scott, you're up, buddy.
Wait a minute. I had $5 if you could read that whole letter without tearing up. Thank you, guys. Oh, yeah. So, look, F3's free, right? We know that. We don't take up funds, but we had several guys spot on renting out this place tonight. So if you don't mind, just think about dropping a few bucks in there. Whatever goes in excess of that tonight, we're going to donate either to the foundation or the Children's Detention Home. So there's your plug to just throw a little bit in the kitty and cover some of the costs for the Greenway tonight. But thank you, Dan and Scott and Frank. It's great that everybody's got a first name tonight too, which is kind of cool. Get to know everybody. So we've covered a lot of ground in 2 years. So happy birthday to this thing, right, that you've been a big part of. Tonight what we're going to do is shift gears a little bit, and we have got a great panel for you tonight, and some questions for this panel that I think are going to be very relevant to where we're going, and hopefully for you personally, individually, as leaders and as men in your community, husbands, fathers, all the roles that we all play in life. So I'd like to bring up Wes Berry, who's our third F leader from F3 Nation, for the faith, please. Let's give him a hand. Tim Whitmire, he's our weasel shaker and co-founder of F3. We also know him as OBT. And Dave Redding, as we know, is Dread. And founder of F3 with OBT is also here tonight. So thank you. So if you all just have a seat. So last year, each of these, both Dread and OBT came down. And first of all, I just want to thank the three of you all for coming down and being here tonight. It shows their commitment. They've got a very busy schedule. But to take a Friday night away from your families to be here tonight. And I know I believe, and this group believes, that what we do here at the fort is, and you've given us a lot of flexibility for how we, this model gives us a lot of flexibility for how we operate. But one of the things I'm most proud of is the depth of leaders that we have out here in the crowd. And I know we see that across F3 Nation, but I was thinking the other night, it takes me about 2 months to get on a queue rotation right now. And that is really with prime. I mean, you got to try to get on the calendar with F3 Nation down here at the fort, which is awesome. I didn't even know that we started the Indian Land workouts.
They need cues.
That's a great sign of growth, right? So they're seeing this at I say national every year. We're national in my book when we're in Boulder and the various areas. So we're going to keep going there. But thank you for being down here. So with that, I'm going to start off. Let me just get set up here. We'll rotate some mics. So why don't if you just give just a few minutes, Dred, why don't you start off just a little bit about, just tell a little bit about yourself, F3, and just a couple minutes of whatever's on your mind right now.
Okay. I gotta stand up. I mean, I can't just talk when I'm seated.
Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
First of all, let me echo. I really don't have to say anything other than that last email you read, brother. That was that encompassed just about everything I think we were shooting for when we started F3. If it's nothing else, it's an opportunity for men to find who they're supposed to be on the earth. I think that's how we feel about it. I felt before I came to Christ and before I had a chance to be part of this, that I didn't know what I was. And that's kind of sounds kind of funny, but I just was a guy. I went to work. I was a guy that had a family, and I knew I had to feed them, take care of them. But I didn't understand what it meant to be the leader, the spiritual leader of my family, and a spiritual leader of my community. And I guess I hearken back to my military days, where my first company commander used to say all the time that he was that somebody. That's how he always put it. He would say, Lieutenant Reddings, you need to understand that I'm that somebody who's in command of this company. I'm that somebody who is responsible for everything that happens and fails to happen in this company. I'm that somebody who's responsible for the outcome. I always say, that somebody, that somebody, that somebody. And it's stuck in my head. And I think now, when I finally turned around from the direction I was going in my life, that I accepted and grasped the idea of being that somebody in my family and my community. And not to wait around anymore. Wondering why things were going in a direction I didn't like. Wondering why the world didn't seem like it was supposed to be. Well, I'm that somebody. I'm that somebody. It's me. It's me. It's not the President of the United States. It's not the governor. It's not my boss. It's me. I'm that somebody. And the impact that I can have, if it's just on one other person, is the start of it. And so we sit back there listening to y'all talk and say these things that we hold so true to our hearts. I don't remember saying that to you, really. I don't remember saying it to anybody. Maybe we write it or talk about it. Well, I guess what I've realized is someone's going to figure out one of these pretty soon that there isn't anything to F3 other than all collectively agreeing on what is right. What's right, we know it in our hearts what is right. And all we're really doing is giving each other the opportunity to live it out, the freedom to do so, to be part of a movement towards that right way. That's all it is. We are all that somebody. And now we're free to do that. Free to bring that into action in our lives, in everything we do. And listening to the emails of the wives, man, every time I hear something like that, I say, well, those are the most truth-telling critics we have, aren't they? That is true. I don't know if this happens to you, but just every once in a while, my wife says to me, I think you might be getting a little excessive. Right? So just like that. And me being sometimes frustrated at priorities, or I'll say something. Well, I'll just stop. Still agrees to give us a threat. That she'll point out to me, but she'll say, if you think I want you back the way you were, you're not listening. Because I think she would echo some of those things. So thank you for that. I already talked more than I wanted to, but I just wanted to pick up really what I've heard here already. You guys are, each one of y'all are that somebody. I don't know who it is. I don't even know where Indian land is or what Indian land is. Yeah, to be honest with you. Apparently that somebody's down there starting a workout and didn't tell this somebody. So triple claps to you. That's the way.
Let me follow up on that, which is to say, I went to Richmond last week to help plant the group that we're going to get going there up in Virginia. And the first night I was up there, I led them in a workout that morning, and then I was teaching a couple sessions 2 nights in a row. And so I got up in front of these guys, 7 guys, with a whiteboard behind me to teach them about F3. And the first thing I wrote was, we do not own this. We do not own this. And by that I meant, I do not own this. He does not own this. He does not own this. And I'm going to give this to you, and you're not going to own it either. We're going to give you some guardrails on this thing. We're going to tell you, you got to abide by these 5 core principles. And I won't recite them now because they're on the website and you all know them anyway. But other than that, do with this what you will. And when I come down here and I hear that's what you're doing, there's nothing more to say. When a guy goes out and somebody hatches the idea of a cereal challenge, and before the weasel shaker can start wrapping his head around the logistics of it, the guy's actually out there on Twitter collecting cereal boxes. I don't own that anymore. Neither do you. Cake Boss owns that. and he's doing it to give the cereal away. And when, you know, Santini dreams up the idea of going off onto the reservation in Indian land, and some guy takes it and grabs it and plants a flag and has got it up and going before he can even figure out what's going on, he doesn't own it anymore. You guys own it. And our charge to you, our long, slow distance charge to you is take it to the world, brothers. I mean, you know, Sway sent us an email this afternoon. He's got a map in his office that's color-coded for every area of South Carolina, and the invasion plan is complete. And frankly, when you're done with South Carolina, would you come up into North Carolina, because some of the guys need some help up there, filling in the spots on the map. But this is, we don't own it, you guys own it, and your job is to not own it either, and to give it away to other men and make them leaders. So, blessings be upon you all.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting being up here with you guys that I found out about F3 about 2 years ago as well. You know, I was a pastor up at First Pres and remember a buddy coming in and telling me about this. And one of the greatest moments of my life was working out in the parking lot when a guy came up to me afterwards and said, "You're a pastor here in town? You're not a pastor. My pastor would never be out here doing this. You're just one of us." And so for me, this idea of like, yeah, even from the third F side of this, of just a member of the PAX, we're just out here doing this, sharpening each other, pushing each other. And so it's a privilege now for me doing this for 2 years, being, I say, on the front line and getting to see what is going on in you guys' lives, what's stirring and moving and the people around it, and getting to hear those stories is just a privilege for me.
All right, so I've been kind of polling the PACs over the last year, just some general questions. So, Jared, I'm going to start off with you. Just can you give us a glimpse of sort of, let's talk about where do you see F3, let's just call it 3, maybe 5 years from now. How high is up?
Well, obviously, we're going to conquer the world. We have essentially two avenues of growth, which most of y'all know about. First avenue is what we call concentric growth, the COLAM model, which is named after the Columbia guys because they did it so effectively, and do it so effectively, which is to grow concentrically. And that's why we regionalized and created regions now. We have 11 or 12 as we sit here today. And the region is empowered to grow concentrically and get bigger and bigger. That map on Sway's wall, I didn't realize it was on your wall, I've seen it on the Twitter feed. That the rest of the country looks in our minds just like that. So I would say through that growth and the other kind of growth we have, it's called ELITE, which is funded trips outside of regions, and we just did Nashville and Richmond, and we have New Orleans here on the schedule here later this month. I want to say in 5 years, having never discussed this with either one of y'all, that we'll pretty much have covered what you think of as the, I guess, the Confederacy. And we'll have invaded, a reverse invasion of what we think of the anti-aggressor. Seriously, I think we'll have Southeast covered in 3 years, and we'll have probably moved as far north as southern New Jersey. And I would hope we were up into the Mississippi River Valley, and maybe, just maybe, one or two in California. Not San Francisco. San Francisco's last. And I'm from Connecticut, so I can pick on it. But that's basically it. Is that we don't have huge plans other than geographically expanding and then expanding the ideas that underpin F3 into every institution that requires leadership. So, we go into the town square and say, hey, have a workout. You guys are a perfect example. Actually, basically, it is the town square. The plan to work out, and then what we learn through F3, what we do as a brotherhood and through leadership, then that should work back into the school. That should work back into the businesses. that you work back into the churches, or if you do like Agony did, you just quit your church and start your own church, so you start from scratch. But take these ideas of leadership that we obviously all understand and agree upon, and work them back into the institutions where we already are. No reason to destroy institutions and say, oh, this institution's dead, it can't be saved. Well, just F3 it. Just F3. Go to the existing leadership, teach them about F3, get them to do F3, get the kids involved, and reinvigorate the institutions with the leadership principles that we have. I would say that's where we hope to see that.
Let me tell you what, how would you say, what are the best regions doing out there today? When you look
Not the best.
I thought you were gonna say, what is the best
No, no,
Well,
but seriously, if you think about the best practices, when you look at an ideal region, so let's just call it Region A, but wherever that may be, what does a great region look like?
I'm gonna pick on Sway since he's sitting here right now. But this is, I mean, this basically he got himself promoted out of his job as the Nantan in Columbia because he really, I mean, he did exactly what he wanted to do as a regional Nantan, which is, and this is not to say that there aren't other people who are doing it, because you guys are doing it great down here, but he basically stoking that engine of concentric expansion and concentric growth, looking around your city and your town and your region and saying, where are we not planted yet? I mean, his email this afternoon, he's trying to figure out, there's like an inch-wide strip of population that runs up the Grand Strand through Myrtle Beach, and there's nobody between Columbia and there, and he's trying to figure out how to project there on a concentric growth basis. So looking around your city or your town or your region and figuring out where are we not, and honestly, the issue with F3 that we run into is guys plant a few workouts in the neighborhood and they figure we're done because they've covered their social circle. And we all know we're all stratified by geography, we all live in the same neighborhoods, but there are neighborhoods, and I'll pick on Charlotte, I'll pick on Metro because it's my home region, but I mean there are huge swaths of Charlotte that have never heard of F3. And I'm not just talking about the west side. Guys are always like, oh, you mean in the ghetto, the poor neighborhoods, whatever. No, I mean middle class East Charlotte. There are no workouts in Mint Hill. There are no workouts between Mint Hill and University City. There are frankly no workouts in University City. We just jumped over it on our way to Mecca. So how do you break that down? How do you make that connection to the guys who are in that area where our current social circle or our current social network is not taking us? So to me, the regions that are thinking in that way, how do we project this out further? How do we grow the base? How do we get this in front of this thing that we don't really own in front of more guys who need it in their lives? Is one real key. I would draw on that.
Good. Wes, can you just explain, particularly some of the guys that are newer to F3, what does the third F, when we think about faith, right? What does that really mean, and what are you seeing from a national perspective as to how we're applying that for F3?
Yeah, I mean, hearing even how OBT is describing the region, it's almost like we want to trickle that down to the man as well. And thinking about, the language we use of I am third, we're suddenly positioning ourselves into that place of being third. And looking at who's the guy next door, who's the guy across the street that needs to be headlocked into this. And so from third F, we talk about the faith kind of being this dynamite to our impact and what we're doing. What I've seen, what we say is, look, guys come out for a fitness. They come out thinking they're getting a good workout. And then they stick around for the glue, for the fellowship side to it. And what you start to see is guys start rubbing shoulder with each other, and faith starts to emerge. For me, one of the reasons I left the big steeple was us in a third F Bible study, where a guy started sharing a story about he was had a business with two other guys that they owned, and he had the pride to call himself the vice president of this made-up department. No one else in front. And he was showering one day, and his wife came upstairs with a pink slip from the other two guys firing him, and how he goes from making this money to making unemployment. And he's just laying it all out there on the table. And I see every single man lean in, saying, this guy is going through exactly what my biggest fear is. and watching men start challenging each other. One guy, another third F, said, in every decision and everything, he boils it down to why. Why? What's the why here? And I think for us, that's really what F3 to me does, is it pushes us to understand what is our why. Why are we doing this? The funnel comes down, third F, and then we've got that spark, I say, the faith, third F ignites that spark to then go make an impact. Hearing the serial challenge, even just headlocking that stack clown across the street from you into this workout, you start seeing the impact you have.
Let me jump in with something on this, which is, and this is the New Orleans thing that I'm working on, and being in Richmond last week, brought it home to me again. Guys come up to us all the time and say, hey, you ought to get, you ought to get this magazine. You ought to get this
We're on a flight class.
You guys ought to get Outside Magazine to write a story about you, or why haven't you been in the New York Times? The New York Times wrote something about this group, or Runner's World did something about the November Project guys. And honestly, that's not how this thing works. We have so few people who have come out because of TV stuff or newspaper articles that we literally nickname them after it. There's a guy named Fish Wrap in Charlotte. He's named Fish Wrap because he came out because he saw the article in the paper. But that's how rare guys are. They come. 95% of the people who are watching TV when that segment about F3 comes on go, that's crazy, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's right, that's Iron Horse's brother.
What's that?
That's Iron Horse's brother.
Yeah. And then of that 5% who don't think it's completely crazy, 2.5% are like, I'm not a morning person. And the other, 2% are, I've already got a personal trainer. And then 0.5% end up coming out, and maybe half of that group end up staying or something like that. The numbers are horrible. It makes junk mail response rates and spam response rates look robust by comparison.
But actually, OBT, what we did was we recruited the actual anchor man, Burgundy, so the guy that just stood up who's running like crazy. He's actually CN2 News. He's the guy that did the story on us, so now he's working out with us. So, and you just keep the guy that does the story.
Exactly. But honestly, raise your hand if you're here because some dude headlocked you. Some dude peer-to-peer headlocked you and said, you're coming out. It wasn't because you saw it on TV. It wasn't because you got something some circular in the mail. It's because another man headlocked you. And that's how we spread this thing, is one-to-one, man-to-man, and it's viral growth. It's everything we talk about. But that's why this thing works.
Jack, can you? We talked down here at the fort about shadow man and the concept of guys looking back and living in their shadow versus turning around and focusing on who God intended them to be and live a life of purpose. You talk in your book about a sad clown. Can you just go into a little bit of the idea of sad clown and how important it is back to OBT's point about headlock. Why do we even care? Right? What's this idea? And just maybe go into that for a second.
Why do we care about the sack line?
Yeah.
Oh. That's a good question. I think, can you all hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Stand up. Yeah, okay.
You're gonna do it anyway.
So, I believe this. I believe that what each man really wants to know is what's going to happen when he dies. This to me is the most important question in life. Not so much when you're going to die. I actually don't want to know that. I want to know what's going to happen. Heaven, the way we read about it, is real, or it's nothing, or what is it? I think that's the underlying question. I want to know that. And then, how does the answer to that question impact the way I live now? Does it matter? I think those are the two questions. To me, that's what faith is all about. I need to believe in some explanation, some answer to that question. I need to believe in it. Otherwise, I live a life of fear, shame, regret, and I don't do anything. To me, that's really what a sad clown is. Sad clown is some guy, like I was, who makes a bargain with what he believes the world is, his worldview, and says, well, if I don't take more than I give, if I kind of roughly balance that, then not that much bad stuff will happen to me after I die. I think that was what my world was. I kind of generally thought there's something out there, and I had kind of a little bargain with that something. I didn't really think of this God, certainly not Jesus. But that's how I saw it. That's what made me a sad clown, when you got right down to it. And you could see that in me, how that manifested in what we talk about, the bowling ball grip, those three things. Inconsistent fitness, right? Couldn't really take care of my body all the time. Fat thing, fat thing, fat thing. Second thing was loneliness. As a sad clown, how could I be a true friend? How could I give myself up for another man when all I was doing was constantly bargaining? Just a little bit of give, just a little bit of take. As if life with every single other human being was a contract which I didn't want to get taken advantage of. I want to make sure that there was not an anticipatory breach by the other side. How could I possibly be a true friend? And then finally, purpose. How could I possibly have been purposeful in anything I did when I didn't know if it mattered? What does it matter if I help another person? You know, I look at my life and the life of a sad clown, I can pick him out. I can see that look on the guy's face. It's the look of a guy who's come to a screeching halt in his car. And just trying to stay there, right? Not doing anything, not going forward, not going backwards. That's a sad clown. I can't bear to see it. I can't bear to see that in other men. That's why I do it. I can't bear to see it. I can't bear to hear it in the prayers in a church that doesn't really embrace Jesus, that embraces, say, we just. You know, Father God, we just want the weather to be good tomorrow. As if that's the way Christ taught us to pray, right? He taught us to pray in imperative voice. Give us our daily bread, right? Forgive us our trespasses. Lead us not to... There's not even a please in there, right? That's how we were taught to pray. None of this none of this screeching halt, sad clownism. In fact, he said whatever we ask for in his name we'll get. That's pretty bold, right? So that, when I grasped that came first for me. So I cast off legis, right? Get rid of that idea because that's not in the Bible. And then boldly go forth as a man in the way the Lord made me so that I could tell other people the answers to those questions that I now believe so they could be free too. That's all it is in my mind. That's all discipling is. That's all testimony is. There I was. Here I am now. In between this happened. There I was. Here I am now. In between this happened. And that's all F3 is too, isn't it? When you guys headlock a guy, what do you say to the guy? Usually at a party or something, these guys go, oh, you look like you're in pretty good shape. What are you? Yeah, I go to this workout this after. I heard about that. That's just a bunch of crazy guys running around. No, it's not a bunch of crazy guys. You'd really like it. You ought to come. Well, I don't know. It's not for... No, it is for a guy like you. In fact, you're just the kind of guy it's for. You ought to come out. Well, you really think, yeah. In fact, I'll come to your house. I'll come to your house tomorrow morning, and I'll wait outside and we'll go together, and I'll take you. Anybody ever done that with a guy? That's what right. Is that how it happened to you? That's how it happened for me. About 5 years ago, that's exactly how it happened for me. Guy told me just exactly that. And I don't see any real difference between the way you headlock a man into F3 and the way that you would speak to a man of matters of faith. I'm not assuming every man here is a Christian, but I'm assuming every man here has a belief in a system, a systematic belief in what happens. And providing that systematic belief to another man and giving him faith, or something to believe in. I mean, it's like the greatest gift on earth, right? And it's free. And it's free. So, we can ask for it then. But that's my answer to the question, why bother doing it? It was done for me, and I'm charged by my Lord to go do it for others. That's simple. Aye? Aye.
Just as Dred was saying that, made me think of Paul's words in Timothy, where he says, "I'm the worst of all sinners," and sort of that mantra in my mind of the reason I care about another sad clown is because I know I'm the worst of all sad clowns, and just sort of that drive of same thing. I see it in the guy, sitting next to me and know it because I've experienced it, I've been through it, and I experienced this morning getting out with the men working out, getting around the Bible with another group this morning, the power that F3 has. And so just like Paul was willing to go out and bust it after that, it's because we see it in that other guy.
Absolutely. OBT, if you think about F3 and we think about kind of the average age of the guy that shows up in post, although we did have a 79-year-old post and left after about 3 minutes. I'm
going to tell you in a minute why I'm actually a little relieved about
But
that.
anyway, there's always outliers. But if you think about the average age, can we talk for just a minute about where you see guys kind of in their 30s, 40s, 50s, some of the trends that you're seeing with guys, and then maybe some of the stories that you talked about from even back in the day?
Yeah, so the reason I'm glad that 79-year-old didn't stick around is that Dred and I have a good friend in Charlotte who just turned 76 this week, and he's declared himself, he's going to be the first F3 octogenarian. So he's, and I led the, we got a guy, Angler, who some of you may know, he did the Go Ruck that was out at the Whitewater Center in March. And Angler's 74 himself, oldest guy ever to complete a Go Ruck, but he started a workout at Christ Church on Saturday mornings that I was honored to get to lead last week called Silver Bullet Express that is for guys in their 70s. And all of a sudden you got all these guys in their 70s at Christ Church who are working out, and it's awesome. And Horst was 75 last Saturday, he turned 76 this week, and he's going to be the first, what'll be quadruple respect? Yeah, he'll be the first quadruple respect. So I want him to get that, not this 79-year-old interloper. So,
He left. He showed up in jeans too, by the way.
Nice. Hey, whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes. So look, I mean, what we saw that first year after we kicked off at AG was guys in their late 30s and early 40s, and I was 40 that year, so I was kind of right in the sweet spot. Dred's kind of old, but whatever, what can you do about that? Respect. But we were going around the circle one day in COT at the Wednesday Gamucci workout, and it was like 7 guys in a row. You know, Henry DePerrier, Monitor, 43. Don Millen, Hitman, 43. Jim Kochek, Crotch Rocket, 43. And it became this joke, like, oh my God, all these guys are 43. Like, what is up with that? And for me, it connected back to something that my crew coach in college had taught me, and some of you guys have heard me tell this story, but that, you know, we used to race, a crew race, basically 2 boats against each other, was 2,000 meters long. And what he told us was that to get through that, and it's 8 guys pulling on each man on a single oar for all your worth for 2,000 meters. And it takes about 6 to 8 minutes to row the race. You're in oxygen debt after the second minute, and you're basically, you know, 110% lungs, back, chest, and legs just pushing to the finish. And he told us that to get through that, we were going to have to break it into 4 quarters, into 500-meter segments. And, you know, that first 500, we were going to be flying off the line. We were going to be, you know, adrenaline pumping, stroke rate of the boat up in the 40s. The second 500 was going to be all about the little Asian dude sitting in the bow of the boat, settling us down into our cadence, the coxswain, you know, getting us down to 36 strokes a minute, getting the swing in the boat, which is when all 8 oars come together, and you're all hitting the water at the same time, and you're all pulling together, and the boat starts going faster than the individual parts would carry it normally. And then the fourth 500, he said, was going to be no problem, because that was just going to be balls to the wall and just get to the finish line as fast as you can. And where the race was going to be won or lost, he told us, was in the third 500. From 1,000 meters to 1,500 meters. And that was where Fred said we were going to win or lose the race, because that's that middle part where the finish line is too far away to be contemplated, and the start line is just a distant memory. And you're out there in the middle of the race and you don't know how you're going to get to the finish, because you're deep into oxygen debt, the lactic acid is building up, your brain is fogged, and you don't know where you're going or how you're going to get there. And that's where the race is won or lost, he said. And the connection I made that day in the Circle of Trust was, That is where F3 is for many men. We're finding men out there in the third 500 of their lives, and we're helping them get through that third 500. So as we've been going into Richmond and New Orleans and Nashville, we're looking for guys in the third 500 or close to it, because those are the guys who start F3. And no insult intended to my boy worldwide leader back there, who's still well into his second 500, but those are the guys that we build F3 around, and I see a lot of you guys sitting in front of me right now. What we saw as time went on and Metro grew to maturity, and I think they're seeing it down in Columbia and elsewhere, is you get some guys and all of a sudden, you know, the guys in their late 30s are inviting their friends who are in their mid 30s out, and then word gets out among the mid 30s guys, and now the guys in their 20s are coming out, and that's great because it pushes old men like him. You know, all of a sudden he's got some rabbits at the front to chase, and he's not the badass that he thinks he is anymore. And now you get, you know, now all of a sudden you get guys like Bunny and 5-0 and, you know, winning the mud run, and guys winning marathons with an F3 logo on their shirt, and that's awesome. But what this thing is and what it does is it gets men through the third 500, and it gets them positioned and moving strongly through that. And if the result is, over time, guys in their second 500 are moving with purpose straight through the second 500 and they breeze through the third 500, that's great. But this is what life is about, and this is what we're about, is getting guys through that for third 500. So, you know, midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it, we're about guys moving with purpose through that time in their life when they're settled in and they're not sure where the finish line is. They're not sure what lies beyond the finish line, as Dred noted, and they're just adrift out there in the middle. And we're finding those guys up, we're scooping them up, and we're turning them from SAG clowns into leaders. And you guys are doing that. So, congratulations.
Agony, so just on that note of third 500, can you talk for a minute? I know you have a chance to meet one-on-one, small groups of guys, you know, across the packs. Can you talk for a minute about what are the challenges that you really see guys struggling with in that third 500 of life? And how would you say this whole idea of accountability and all that comes together when we think about taking this to another level?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think seeing that, and when OBT kind of described that third 500, I saw how true that is for us. We're sitting here. I'm on the hate side of this, and so yeah, we've got the whole gamut here, age-wise. Just pointing that out. But for me, seeing guys who are out ahead of me doing this, they say all men need two types of guys in our lives. We need an elder, a guy who's been out in front of us, who can tell us, hey, I know you can do this. Trust me, I've been through this, I can do this. Watch me, follow me, here's how I got through it. And then we need a comrade, a guy who's going to be down in the trenches with life, going through the same stuff we're going through. And so how F3 provides that, I mean, I shared the story of the guys struggling with job loss, underemployment, and that stuff, real for guys on it. I say again, I was 6 years at a big steeple church, never got a phone call. Would always, folks would come in after they had begun the divorce process, and now being freed up to be on the grounds. I've gotten 4 cold calls about guys struggling with pornography. I've got men calling me up who are on the front end capturing that their marriage is just getting a little icy, a little frigid, and are inspired and seeing other men, again, the one who's been down the road and the one beside them, to reach out into it. And so the struggles are all over the place, all over the place. But we keep exposing them to guys who are going through it with them, and guys who've been through the battle, kind of calling them.
Dred, as we're kind of thinking about wrapping up here, is that cute? That's subtle.
I picked that.
Between now and 10:30. No, but I'd love for you to just kind of close out with some thoughts on accountability. What does it mean? We talked about as iron sharpens iron. But let's break that down a little bit for the guys and talk truly about, is there a step that they need to take, we need to take,
Yeah.
to seek that out, find that, talk about that, please.
And, probably my favorite topic of millions of topics that I like to yammer on about. But the problem, everyone talks about accountability, right? We always talk about it. Mold. It's most common theme you hear.
Mold, I can't hear.
Understand,
Just can't hear.
It's better. Good side, huh?
It's always a Tatanka in every group. We had one in Metro too.
Really?
All right, we did.
They just broke his heart.
We did it. I worked out with him today. So accountability, you hear about it all the time. But the problem with cultural accountability, what I would call Oprah Obama accountability, is it's been distilled down to meaninglessness in the same way that, say, the Epcot Center is compared to really being in Europe, right? You're not really in Europe when you're at the Epcot Center. It's fake and it's small, and it's no real lasting value, right? It just kind of gives you a pretend sense of being in Europe. It's true, sorry. And what I mean by this is just two criticisms of the way our culture speaks of accountability. First of all, the idea of saying, I'm going to be accountable to myself. I'm going to hold myself accountable. You hear that all the time. It's such an Oprah bomb. You can't hold yourself accountable. That's the whole point. You can't do it. If you could do that, then you wouldn't even have to talk about accountability. You just would do it, right? It's going to take another human being to hold you accountable, to say, hey, brother, what you're doing ain't going to work. That's not working. That's against the rules. What, there's rules? Yes. And you're breaking them. Some other man has to do that for you. The other thing is, it's got to be in real time. The other expression you hear culturally is, we're accountable to future generations for clean air, whatever. Knock, knock, who's there? Future generations. I got a problem with what you're doing. That's not the way it works, right? Because future generations isn't a real person. Accountability takes another man. It takes another man to whom you delegate the authority and responsibility to tell you when you're screwing up, right? Like David had his Nathan. David had his Nathan. That's who held him accountable. A little too late in that story, but that's who did it. We all need a Nathan, and we all need to be some other guy's Nathan. I think the issue of accountability, real accountability, is probably the most important thing for us as men, staying straight. I've got guys that hold me accountable. I meet with them at least every 2 weeks, and I tell them all the stupid stuff I've done for the past week. I also tell them the things that I am likely to do, what to look for, the signs that I'm kind of wavering off towards the ditch. Agony said, what good is it if you turn to accountability, to a man for accountability after you've already done the thing that's going to destroy your life or someone else's? What good is it? Well, I guess that's healing. That's not accountability. True accountability is a man speaking into your life at a time when you can't see that you're drifting off in the ditch. You can't see because you're blinded by the flesh and by the temptation of what you want to do. That's true accountability. Not Oprah accountability, not Epcot Center accountability. True accountability, and the key to it is it must be deliberate. You have to plan it into your life. Get another guy and be truthful about who you really are, and have a regular time where you meet with him and you talk about true things, and you don't get so mad at him for pointing out the truth that you storm out. Because that happens a lot too, because nobody really likes it, right? So
that's why your wife can't hold you accountable.
And that's it. Thank you very much. That's why your wife, my wife's my best friend, cannot do that, right? It's not possible. She is so much more for you than just an accountability partner or a best friend. She's so much more than that. And also, why would you put that on her? For all the things that we put on our wives, making them put up with us, all the things about us that are just really quite unacceptable when you get down to it. Why add on to that fire another log, soggy, ant-filled log of, oh yeah, check my email. Make sure I'm not looking at porn. Why? Why do that, right? No, we have to do that for each other. We have to do that for each other. I will postulate that there's not been an effective leader in the history of the world who finished strong the way OBT describes. through that third 500 who had not grasped and installed in his life principles of true accountability. Because that's the way the devil works. Men who have impact, men who have leaders, we're a threat to the devil, we're a threat to his reign. He's going to find a way to throw obstacles at us, trip us up, and the way to avoid those obstacles best is to do it in tandem with another man holding you accountable. So if you want to have impact, if you want to be that kind of guy and stay out of the ditch, that's the best advice I can give you, is find another man to do that with and walk hand in hand with him on a basis of accountability. Make sense? Even you, Tonka.
Thanks, Red.
Yeah.
Let's give our panel a hand. Hey, I know, did you guys bring some copies of Free to Lead?
Yeah, we've got copies of the book, so you got cash or check, we are happy to sell you one. And if you already bought one and you brought it along, we're happy to sign it. Dred likes to sign insulting things. I'll just send, we just sent those to. You're good at that.
I knew I was making a mistake touching that thing.
Let me just make a comment about this book. I read a lot of leader development books. That's what I do for a living, is leader development. But I will tell you that in reading this book, and this is not just shameless plugging of this book, I think this is
shamelessly plug it.
this is one of the most practical. Who's read this or portions of it? All right. This is probably one of the most, would you agree, or call me out on this, one of the most practical books on personal leadership and just leadership in general, that certainly that I've read. And I've given a copy of this book to other people, even at the bank where I work, and said this is something that you need to read, because it's not 800 pages of theory. It's a few hundred pages of practical advice on what you can do. So I would tell you, if you don't have a copy, you need to get a book of this. I bought several of them and handed them out. These guys did a great job. Everything we've been talking about tonight is in here. And I've told people that have bought it and said, if you don't like it, I'll buy your copy. All right, it's that kind of thing. So get that, and if you guys want to sign it and write something weird in it, we'd appreciate that. So, guys, let's bring this home. So again, thank you, the three of you, for coming down for our speakers.
Hey Santini, just so
Yes.
you know, y'all planted, your original plan was on my birthday, so I was like, coming down here. It's September 29th is my birthday. So it's always been nice.
Happy birthday. One thing I do want to mention, one of the things that changed last year at the September meeting to this year was we got serious about forming a region leadership team. Dred and I had lunch, and he looked at me and he said, we really want you guys to take this to another level. And we were kind of looked at him and said, what are you talking about? We're fine, right? We got 2-3 workouts right now. We're doing great. He's like, no, I think you really need to think about what you can do to take this to another level. And so he said, we don't really care how you do it. We just know that you need to do a whole lot more of it. And we'd like to hold you accountable, and we want you to think of being a region. We didn't really know what that meant. All we knew is that they had a region, national, F3 nation sort of structure. So what we did was we just ripped it off. And Dan and I, partnered up. He's Weasel Shaker on Nantown, whatever that means. We got together at Cracker Barrel one morning and sat down over the holidays, and we're like, you know what? We kind of have a fork in the road. Did we just kind of step back and hand this off, kind of like a committee or a board, like a rotation after 1 year? What does this really mean? And we kind of said, you know what? We really feel like we need to keep doubling down here. We need to do more with it. So he and I figured out what that meant, and then I said, we need a guy who really gets this ops stuff and spreadsheeting, because I freaking hate it. And Dan's like, well, I'm real busy too. I don't know if I got all the time. So Will, who is brilliant at this stuff, said, I'd be willing to do that. And if you've ever been to a meeting that Will runs, it is on time, punctual. I love that about this guy. Will is our ops leader and has done a brilliant job of that. Jeff Gray, Hard Drive, stepped up and he figured out this website thing. Still can't figure it out. We do something with tagging and meta tags and stuff, but you do a great job with that. That's been awesome. C-SPAN has been our first F leader, and so just so you know, we thought we were going to have these regional meetings like once a month. We've gotten to a point where we don't even need to meet because we've delegated all of the whatever you want to call it. But C-SPAN is going around working with every first F. So instead of bringing an idea of a workout to a committee, you bring it to C-SPAN on Twitter or an email, and you say, hey, I want to start a workout in Indian Land. He says, does it do the 5 things that we're looking for? Do you have cues? Do you know how to do this thing? Have you read the cue manual? He's instilled discipline in that. And we have workouts, right? We have second F. Right, so we've that's been the one that we're kind of, we don't do enough get-togethers, and we haven't had a wine party or whatever. We've kind of figured out, the best happy hours we do are ad hoc with 2 or 3 guys saying, hey, let's grab a cold beer after work on Thursday.
But I heard that you're starting a recipe swap. It's gonna be a-
Not happening. Who am I missing on our team? Cake Boss, you met him earlier, he's been our third F leader. So what we did was we decentralized and we said all we got to do is put guys that are willing to carry the flag around those. And so what we're doing is plugging in with Sway and what he's doing at a state level, and we're just replicating that, right? So he's pushing us, they're pushing him, we're all pushing each other to continue to grow, right? It's not that complicated. Simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. Right? We've talked about that before. But that does mean that we are going to do a lot to grow. So I look around, what's really cool about tonight is I would say almost 70% of the faces that I'm looking at aren't the same faces that we had here last year. And I know we had at least 20 or 30 guys that were here last year that said, they had other things tonight. And how encouraging it is to think about the depth. And that's one of the things that we're really pushing here too is, are we growing in width and depth? Okay, it is actually not the hardest thing in the world to get more workouts. It's hard to sustain workouts with great leaders in each of those, particularly when we go into the mental discipline months, as I like to call them, of the winter. All right, so thinking about that, right, we've got a depth in our cues. We've got David really driving out the cue leadership there, and I hope we're all fighting to get on a workout schedule doing it. So one of the things that I think we're moving from is I'm here for me to I'm here for you to I'm here for them. All right, so think about that for a minute. You come to your first workouts, and largely speaking, it's really about you at first, right? Do I like this? Should I have done CrossFit? Did they really do this in the rain in February? I wonder if they'll miss me next week. Those are all I'm here for me concepts, right? Then you realize, there's something a little different about this. And now you start to realize that I'm really going to be here for you, right? Because I know he's going to post. And that's great. And that's kind of the second part of this phase, right? You move from that to where I got to be there because they're going to be there. That's the transaction. It's not any more complicated, right? But I think where we're really going in the next couple of years, guys, is we're here for them. Okay? The them are the sad clowns, the guys, and that's why I asked you the question, Brad, why do we even care? The them are the guys that have not heard, that don't understand that there is something here. So people have said, was this kind of a cult thing? Right? Is this Promise Keepers with just black shirts? Right? No, it's not. It's not. Right? It's very different. Okay?
That says Amish. Black shirt and Amish keepers.
It looked like ninjas in a Coliseum.
Did you all see the van at NPR?
We're not a cult.
Yeah.
But I think people from the outside can look at this and they can misunderstand it because, they look at it and go, it can't be free. Right? The transaction's got to be more than that. And I'm like, no, it's really not. It's not any more complicated than that. I loved when you guys were doing the interview with CN2 and sorry, what's her name? Allison. Allison's asking me a question. She goes, so what is your title? And I said, well, I was the Q today. I was the Q today. She's like, and she looked at me a little perplexed, like, well, you don't have a title? I'm like, no, I don't have a title. I'm leading this week. Think about that. as you're challenging yourself. So I'm going to close with a scripture, and we're going to just kind of wrap up this idea of faith. But this is from 1 Corinthians 3, 12 through 14. I'm going to break this down into 4 parts. It says, "Now if any man builds on the foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, or straw, each man's work will become evident. For the day will show it, because it is to be revealed with fire." So think about those 2 first parts, right? If you're building your foundation, building your life on gold, silver, precious stone, wood, hay, straw. So let's think of that as earthly things that we amass. Okay? It's saying that each man's work one day will become evident, for the day will show it, because it is to be revealed with fire. The day will show, meaning there is a promise, and I believe this pretty much regardless of any faith or where, what faith background you come from. They really all teach a moment of ultimate or eternal accountability. If you really think about it, right? There's a day where you settle it up. I believe in my faith, the way that you get to heaven, it's already done for you. It's a grace transaction. Grace was given to me unconditionally. So for that, I accept that. All the other world's religions teach that you have to do something. But at the end of the day, all of those religions talk to a day where you will have a moment where you are judged. And that's what he's saying here to the Corinthians. "And the fire itself will test the quality of each man's work. If any man's work which he has built on it remains, he will receive an award." So what that's saying, man, is I really believe there's a day where I will stand before God, and he's going to take a blowtorch to my life. And all of the things that you or I, that we...
5,
7, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. 55. I think we have about 4 or 5 guys leave. Guys, let's bring it up right here. We'll do a ball man and close this out. What you're doing? All right, drop them if you have them. God, I come before you tonight. It is a privilege to stand before you and responding to your calling. And they're here to challenge and to grow and to go forth and build your kingdom, God. There are so many prayer requests right now in this group of packs that I bring to you, both spoken and unspoken. Marriages that need healing, the sicknesses that need touching, the lives, the broken lives that we know to be represented. God, just lift those up to you right now. God, for those men right now that are wondering what faith looks like and what that means in their life personally, I just ask that you speak into their life. You never stop knocking. You're right there. All they have to do is reach out and accept and ask you into their heart. I pray, God, that you just keep knocking and that they respond to that. Lord, I thank you for the blessings you give this group. I pray